Absolution is the title for Liam Neeson's latest thriller. Now, Liam Neeson is renowned for bringing a certain set of skills to his movie roles, and in this one, he seems to have found a new one. But what is it? We're going to find out in my review here. So let's get into it. Hello everyone, so Absolution, this is Liam Neeson's latest thriller. I don't really want to say action because there isn't too much action in it because Liam Neeson is getting somewhat older and it is showing in his roles. The film is rated R, it runs for 1 hour and 52 minutes. It's directed by Hans-Peter Molland, who'd directed previously, starring Liam Neeson, the movie Cold Pursuit. It was written by Tony Gayton, who, as well as a number of other things, has written many an episode of the TV show Hell on Wheels. The film stars Liam Neeson as just a character named Thug. He hasn't actually got a name in the film whatsoever. And Ron Perlman as Charlie Connor, his criminal boss. The film has it's one of those situations where you get two films in a year that are very similar, of the same ilk, because this film here is very similar to another film that I really enjoyed that I watched several months ago, and we'll get into that a bit later on. But this here film, this finds Liam Neeson's character. He's an aging thug. He's like the sort of heavy body guy to this criminal mastermind. I say mastermind, you know, he heads up a little criminal empire wherever this is set. And Liam Neeson is aging, he's getting somewhat past it, but he's a boxer. He used to do boxing in his younger days, and he suffered a fair few blows to the head, and this has now caused a cognitive disease in him, and he's losing his mind. He's becoming forgetful and all this sort of a thing, and he has to go on this journey of reconciliation with his family while trying to get away from the grasp of the criminals that he's working for, and he's finding that somewhat hard to do. They're not really letting go of him, this sort of a thing. And like I said, he has to go on this journey of reconciliation with his daughter, who he hasn't seen for some considerable time. She's got a son that he wants to get to know. All the while he meets this new girl, this woman that he kind of has forms of friendship with. And yeah, so it's a story. It's not really action based. So in a sense, this film here gives Liam Neeson somewhat more to do than what he would in his standard kind of action fair roles. It actually gives him a bit of scenery to chew on. You know, he gets to actually act and give a character, portray a character who's struggling, a character who's towards the end of his time, so to speak, who's having these problems in his head. Now, like I said, this film reminds me a lot of a film that I saw several months ago, and that being Knox Goes Away, starring Michael Keaton. Thematically, it's essentially the same sort of film in that he's a hitman who has a disorder in his brain. He's becoming very forgetful and this sort of a thing, and so it's very similar, and he has to try and reconcile things with his family, with his son. And yeah, so you know, thematically it's very, very similar. Which one's the best? We'll come to that at the end. Now, I said that Liam Neeson introduces a new skill within this film, and he certainly does, and that is with the growth of a moustache. Yes, he's sporting a moustache in this movie. Okay, so this film, it's nearly 2 hours long, and boy, does it feel it. It's long, and it feels long. I mean, you know, I was about halfway through. I was about 45 minutes into it, and I looked at how long was left, and I couldn't believe that I'd sat there for 45 minutes, that short of amount of time, when it felt like I'd been sat there for an hour and a half. So that's not really a good thing. Unfortunately, I couldn't get on board with this film. I found it to be somewhat boring. I found it to be incredibly boring, in fact, and that goes a long way to tell you what I think about this film in comparison to Knox Goes Away, which I think is far superior, probably one of the better films that I've seen this year. It's unfortunate because Liam Neeson, he gives us good performance. He gives us a good performance up to a point. Up to a point where he loses it and he starts getting angry, and it just reminded me the scene of him getting angry in Darkman, the pink elephant scene, if you know what I mean. So although this is competently directed, it's you know, it's tried. The film has tried to give a compelling story, but unfortunately for me, I've seen a better version of this film in Knox Goes Away. And that's what it comes down to. When you've got two films of exactly the same, almost exactly the same story, you've got to choose which one you're going to go to. And unfortunately, this one here, I'll leave by the wayside and say goodbye to it. It wasn't for me.